Wild Card Weekend kicks off with pro football today at 10 a.m.
And you know SportsGrid will have you covered the entire way.
Join in-game live during the Chargers and Texans matchup at 4 p.m. for in-game betting opportunities. And right after, the Steelers and Ravens continue their historical division rivalry.
Taking a look at some in-game betting opportunities in terms of the prop market.
Don't miss a second, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to be copy-paste. Books up, not good. Win total's a tick too low. Knock it right over. Make playoff price tick too juicy. Bang it out. Postseason comes around on a tee. Knock their heads off.
I don't think the Steelers organization just makes a move to make a move. They have to have, it's like being in the book. You have to know what you're going to move the line to.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Statement from Giants president John Mara. Joe Shane and Brian Daboll will continue in their respective roles with the organization. As disappointing as the results of the season have been, Steve Tisch and I remain confident in the process that Joe and Brian have implemented.
The Giants, an absolute train wreck, and I love it.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid. Just 3 games left in this historic college football season. Thursday, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame is definitely one of the top teams in the nation.
Clash with Penn State. Friday, Ohio State looks to slow down the Horns, with the Buckeyes favored to top Texas.
You know what I see? 2 similar plays. Jackpot. Cherry. I'm nimble for a big man.
Follow along for every play and every bet with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
We welcome you to hour number 2 live right here on the Early Line on SportsGrid. It is game day once again in college football, the college football playoff, the first ever time in the 12-team era, a historic Thursday night, the college football playoff semifinal in Miami. It's the Orange Bowl between 2 powerhouse and blue blood programs in this sport, both seeking their first national championship in nearly 4 decades. It's the 6-seed Penn State and the 7-seed Notre Dame squaring off tonight in South Florida. A preview of the Orange Bowl later on in this second hour. DRS, did you check the rundown today? Did you see who's joining us in our third and final, by the way?
Yeah, going to be exciting here. We'll see what he's concocting. We'll see if we have any crypto smashes tonight. And I guarantee you this, if you're looking at players for prop bets to take alts overs, change your mind here. We're not going to look at the top wide receivers, the top running backs, the top quarterbacks. You're going to get probably player information you never heard of for a guy to have 60-plus rushing yards and multiple touchdowns when they haven't done that all season long. Get ready, people.
But I will say that's what makes Joe Lisi, the mastermind of the college football pigskin, great. And despite what Donnie might say, they really are best friends. I don't get to work with them together often. I'm excited. I'm going to get a few good chuckles in because nobody better than DRS at ribbing anybody he is friends with, but especially Lisi guy. DRS, we are also now just 2 days away from the start of the NFL postseason. The opening round kicks off on Saturday with a doubleheader in the AFC. 3 games on Sunday, a Monday night cap as well. I don't know if you saw this yesterday, Donnie. As a man that has a lot of thoughts about many things, about how leagues are run, scheduling, all of that goes into it. Did you see that the NFL has sneakily removed Super from Wild Card Weekend after they instilled Super Wild Card Weekend just a few seasons back when the NFL postseason expanded?
It's just starting to buy into Super Wild Card Weekend because
Me
it does
too.
make some sense, and it sounds bigger than just Wild Card Weekend. Like Super Wild Card Weekend has the Super Bowl moniker. Like what a big weekend it's going to be. I feel if we just go back to Wild Card Weekend, it's going to feel like the wives and the girlfriends out there like you're only missing Wild Card Weekend. Like no, babe, it's Super Wild Card Weekend. You know what? I'll go to Home Depot and I'll go to Bed Bath & Beyond all by myself. You stay home because of how big this weekend is. I think they might be doing us a disservice on the home front here.
A really, really good point, DRS. I think that is very fair. Anytime you add super to anything, it does make it sound super more.
Super DRS.
Let's talk.
Amazing. Yeah. Super Ben Stevens. I mean, it just sounds better like that. By the way,
that actually made me
feel
feel
Twitter
good.
handle.
And
Super Ben Stevens. If you change your Twitter handle to Super Ben Stevens, that's your new thing, like you see Donnie right side. But again, I like to say when I came to this company here, hey, look, everybody has their regular name. How about me? No, that's fine. Keep it the same.
No, for sure. You'll never know exactly what that S stands for. Is it side or something else? You know what's funny, too? When Donnie and I first started working together, even when we weren't on the same show, when there was the early line and the morning after, there would be a changeover in studio, so Donnie would have to close out the show. And every time he would introduce me, I don't know if it's just because he loved my Twitter handle or he really thought I cared about having my middle name included. It was always coming up on the morning after, Ben Scott Stevens. I still don't know, DRS, if it was just a
little highbrow. Wearing quarter zips, over jackets. Maybe if I never saw you before, Ben Scott Stevens, I wonder what he actually looks like and what he wears to work at this point. Probably would have been something different. By the way, were you wearing coats back then? When you were when I was introducing you as Ben Scott Stevens on the morning after?
Turtlenecks,
wow,
downs, variety of fun things. Now,
Kevin ruined it all for us. He really did. We had to be professional because of one player here at the studios. Come on now. My goodness.
That's one Belladonna shirt. That's what it will do to
one
you.
Too many,
going
man.
all... Yeah, one too many indeed. All right, let's dive in to buy or sell around the National Football League. We talked Super Wild Card Weekend. Now time to talk the two Super Bowl favorites around the National Football League, the two teams that have earned the bye and the one seed in either conference. The Chiefs, rinse and repeat, in the AFC for the first time in franchise history. The Lions, the one seed in the NFC. Both teams 15-2 this year. Both short favorites to win their conference crowns. But you will see the Lions a shorter price to win Super Bowl 59. I have said it once. I will say it again. Detroit has never even played in a Super Bowl in organization history, let alone won a Lombardi trophy. But buy or sell to you, DRS, the question is this. The Lions are a safer bet than the Chiefs to make, not win, but to make the Super Bowl.
Sell it. I'm selling it right now. And it has nothing to do with the Detroit Lions and how good they are. And they are the favorites to get to the Super Bowl. But we're asking them, are they a safer bet to get there than the Kansas City Chiefs? And Ben hit the nail on the head already. It's you know what? Detroit, 9 in the last 10 years, NFC championship games, multiple. No, none, never. Yeah. They've never done this before. The Kansas City Chiefs are old hat. You know how many times we talk about them? Hey, they're going to go over and play a game in the UK. And it's well, the Jaguars are always there. They have the advantage. They know the flight schedule. They know the practice fields. They're used to eating the food. They're used to staying at the same hotels from a team that never does it before. Detroit's in uncharted waters saying, you know what? We're usually the little engine that could getting hammered on Thanksgiving Day as their only big game of the year to now saying, oh, wait, we're the number one overall seed. We are supposed to get to the Super Bowl place we have never been and likely to get to an NFC championship game, which they barely ever appear in. So, no, I'm going to sell that notion because Kansas City, number one, has Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in the NFL. Number two has the best coach in the NFL. And number three might have the best defensive coordinator in the NFL, and Steve Spagnuolo. And they're home, and they have the bye. I'm not saying the Lions aren't getting to the NFC Championship game and or the Super Bowl, but I'm not going to sit up here and say their pathway is better than the Chiefs and should get there. The Chiefs always get there and find a way to get there and will get there again this season. And maybe the Lions get there, but it's not the safer bet. Sell, sell, sell.
I can understand why the question is phrased this way. It does seem rather top-heavy in the AFC, where we have three teams we expect to contend for that conference crown that really anybody could win it. The Chiefs, the Bills, the Ravens. But KC has won it 4 of the last 6 years. KC has played in the AFC Championship game all 6 seasons on the doorstep of a Super Bowl appearance. And for the previous 5, not including last year, so 5 of the last 6, the Chiefs have hosted said AFC Championship game inside Arrowhead, which would be the case once again this year if the Chiefs do in fact play in the AFC title. They need just one win to do so against either the Chargers or the Texans. So I also will sell this notion the Lions are a safer bet. The Chiefs deserve the benefit of the doubt in the postseason pedigree to back up that claim. Now, I do, again, get why the question was phrased that way by our producer extraordinaire, Joe Frizo. Because, Donnie, it really does feel that in the NFC, even though there might be some teams that could be pesky, it's really a two-team race where more than likely we assume we are going to see the Lions and the Eagles in that NFC Championship game in the Motor City, and Detroit will have home field advantage. Now, could the Vikings, the divisional mates of the Lions, give Detroit a test in round number 2, that divisional round? Of course. With all the storylines of Matthew Stafford returning to the Motor City once again, might the Rams, with their own playoff pedigree, be able to make some noise to keep Detroit from getting to an NFC Championship game for a second consecutive year? Be able to say something about it? Sure. But I do believe the Chiefs are the safer bet to reach a Super Bowl.
Yes, and also when you are looking at both teams have home field advantage, it will make a difference. But having said, yes, the Bills are a good team. The Baltimore Ravens are good. But we're not looking at the Bills and the Ravens showdown with the Chiefs the same way I think most people are saying, boy, if the Lions and Eagles meet up on that championship Sunday, watch out, man. Lock yourself at home and watch out, people.
More on the early line next.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
NFL playoff edition of Buy or Sell, one of our favorite games each and every week throughout the National Football League as we get you ready for the start of the playoffs. DRS, it's not just a team outlook, but whether fair or not, we associate team success with individuals, but really just one individual position more than the rest. That would be the quarterback. And when you talk quarterback success, out of any of the 14 QBs that will play in the NFL playoffs, one guy rises above the rest. That is Patrick Mahomes. Look at the record. 15-3. 15-3. Those three losses, by the way, twice in the AFC Championship, once in a Super Bowl, 2 of the 3 losses against the legendary Tom Brady. Josh Allen is 5-5. He has never played in a Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson, a lot of questions to be answered and narratives to turn around here in this postseason, 2-4. Sam Darnold has never played in a playoff game. Jalen Hurts is 2-3, but at least owns a conference championship a couple of years ago. Those decisions made, again, by our producer extraordinaire, the 5 quarterbacks he feels are under the most pressure entering this postseason. The greatest of all times, or that idea, the conversation for Mahomes, is why he is always under pressure. So as we look at that crop of 5, DRS, buy or sell, Lamar Jackson is the quarterback facing the most pressure this postseason.
Oh, absolutely buy it. There's no doubt about it when you look at that list of who's under pressure. If they lose, everything is going to come down on them. Why? Because they're great football players. If I equate it to my Eagles fandom over the years, Donovan McNabb actually won a lot of big football games. But the biggest football games and the moments you needed him to win and step up in moments, you saw that he wasn't able to get the job done. And maybe an unfair label on McNabb, which how good he was during his time for the Eagles, the same thing can be said here about Lamar Jackson to an nth degree, because Donovan McNabb was never the MVP of the NFL. Got close a couple times. Lamar Jackson is a multiple-time MVP and just might win another this year. So you're saying if I'm going to have a 3-time MVP that can't even get to a Super Bowl, and every time you get to the playoffs, it always falls on him. Because when's the last time? Because let's just say the Super Bowl with the Eagles where they went up against Kansas City, right? You didn't look at that game and say, well, Jalen Hurts, boy, in the biggest moments, he was really bad. I understand he fumbled in that game, but he was toe-to-toe with Mahomes, where when that game was over, you didn't say, boy, if we had a better quarterback or better quarterback play, that would have been handled. We've been saying that about Lamar Jackson in the playoffs, and it's not unfair to say it. Watch those football games. And even last year, if you want to take it out and say maybe it was more of a coaching thing than him, he threw multiple bad plays, ending up at interceptions down the stretch on footballs you just can't throw. Now, do we blame him for Zay Flowers fumbling on the goal line, which could have changed the trajectory of that football game? No, we don't, and rightfully so. He shouldn't be charged for that. But when you're the quarterback, you're going to get the accolades, and maybe when you do lose, some of those accolades don't go your way, like, well, he just lost that game. You need him to have clean football and get to a Super Bowl and perform well. So for me, buying that notion, by far, it's Lamar Jackson. There's not even a close second to me, Ben.
Yeah, I would agree. I also buy that notion to the nth degree. I think Josh Allen might be that second. I understand the point of Patrick Mahomes. Once you have always shown excellence, that is now your standard, right? And anything less than a Super Bowl appearance or perhaps a 3rd consecutive Lombardi trophy, despite the fact even getting to the big game in New Orleans would be historic for this Chiefs organization. Any NFL team, if you come up short of that, the season is considered at least a slight failure. Sam Darnold, not pressure necessarily trying to enter the pantheon of one of the great quarterbacks in the NFL, but trying to prove that this season was not a fluke, like the questions are starting to arise after the Week 18 performance against Detroit. And Jalen Hurts trying to prove he is on that upper tier. He is of the elite echelon around the NFL. But to your point, DRS, it is Lamar Jackson. First year as a full-time starter in Baltimore. 2019, he wins the NFL MVP award, his second season in the NFL. Baltimore has the best record. They're the 1 seed in the AFC. They come up short once again, I believe losing in the divisional round in their first game against Derrick Henry and the Titans, if I am not mistaken. Last year, 1 seed, best record in the NFL. A sensational performance in that divisional round matchup against the Texans. 152 yards through the air, didn't have to do much. 2 touchdowns. 100 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. 252 total yards, if you will, 4 total scores. All right, the narrative's starting to change because he entered 1-3 in playoff action with home field advantage in Baltimore against what many considered the worst of the KC teams we had ever seen reach an AFC championship. The first to have to win the conference crown on a road to 272 yards, but just 20 of 37, a touchdown, an interception, a costly one. And the Ravens' game plan was really all on Lamar to run. You are not given the benefit of the doubt when you are the 1 seed with home field advantage, even when it's the Chiefs and Mahomes on the other side. This is now Lamar's time to prove it. But, Donnie, potentially after this weekend in a home game with the largest spread against the Steelers, the Ravens will have to go on the road the remainder of their postseason run.
Yes, and understand this too. Like, we're not adding up Lamar Jackson. Like, he doesn't have to be the spotlight player, even though he will be, which means he doesn't have to throw 40 times in a football game and complete 35 of those passes for 5 touchdowns and no interceptions. What we're saying is, when I look at the Baltimore Ravens, just stick to what you do best and what got you here. If we end up winning a Super Bowl, talking about the Ravens, where Lamar Jackson doesn't throw over 25 passes all the way through, nobody's going to look at that team like, oh, well, Lamar didn't lead them to victory. No, he's going to get the accolades being the quarterback, because you know he made dynamic plays, whether it's touchdown passes or with his own legs or Derrick Henry. That's all I want to see, which makes it so maddening last year when we look at Lamar Jackson. The only future I placed before the season started was for the Ravens to win a world championship. And I was sitting high and mighty entering into the playoffs going, I have the best team at home. No doubt in my mind they're going to play well. And it wasn't even that it was Lamar Jackson playing bad. It was the coaching, the play calling, and how that entire game played out for Kansas City, which had everybody upset, because if you just stuck with what got you there, Lamar picking his spots in the passing game, running the football, and playing good defenses, good things will happen for the Ravens. So that goes into it as well.
And we'll talk Super Bowl MVP odds on the other side of the break. Josh Allen did end out the regular season as a minus 470 favorite to win the MVP award this year in the NFL. But we will show you those Super Bowl MVP odds again after our commercial break, because it does emphasize the idea of pressure on a quarterback. And certainly for both the Ravens and the Bills to get off the fast starts, because it's expected early. More on the early line next.
Jimmy Butler wants to leave because Jimmy Butler knows that Riles isn't going to pay him, and he wants to get paid. Simply put, if they would have given Jimmy Butler this contract extension in the summer when he asked, this wouldn't be happening. But Riles did it, and Riles wanted him to play. So now he's disgruntled because he wants out.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this, I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text, put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, hey, I never got the text. And I'm like,
no.
Oh yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. When he texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe, like, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the book.
Statement from Giants president John Mara. Joe Shane and Brian Daboll will continue in their respective roles with the organization. As disappointing as the results of the season have been, Steve Tisch and I remain confident in the process that Joe and Brian have implemented.
The Giants, an absolute train wreck, and I love it.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. Just 3 games left in this historic college football season. Thursday, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame is definitely one of the top teams in the nation.
Clash with Penn State. Friday, Ohio State looks to slow down the Horns, with the Buckeyes favored to top Texas.
You know what I see? 2 similar plays? Jackpot, cherry. For a big man.
Follow along for every play and every bet with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
The Super Bowl MVP odds, a new market out this week on the FanDuel Sportsbook, kind of re-emphasize what we have been discussing. The quarterbacks around the NFL about to embark on a postseason run with the most pressure. But again, it also kind of just ties up to where you are in terms of your Super Bowl odds as a team. Patrick Mahomes, of course, is the Super Bowl MVP favorite. Should that be overly shocking? No, because the Chiefs have the second best price to win a Super Bowl. You will see the number on the Baltimore Ravens. It's plus 550. Now, actually, whoa, is that correct? The Ravens have a better price to win a Super Bowl than that of the Buffalo Bills at this moment? That's a change up from where things were earlier this week as it stands right now. The Bills, though, a better price to win the AFC. Am I going crazy? Can we double check this?
Different money.
Quick? Buffalo is
different money spots, I guess. Yeah,
it must be. Buffalo is plus 250 to win the AFC, 30 cents in front of Baltimore at a plus 280 price. But the Ravens are plus 550 with the third best number to win the Super Bowl itself. Nearly half a dollar, actually a full $half in front of Buffalo at a 6-1 number. Regardless, your prices to win Super Bowl MVP, DRS, very closely tied to what your team's price is to win just the Lombardi Trophy overall. The only guy that really doesn't stack up is Jared Goff, plus 650 number, despite the fact his Lions are the Super Bowl favorites, because you will see his sensational running back at 15-1, that being Jahmyr Gibbs, with the next best price of anybody not named a quarterback.
Yeah, the one thing I do disagree, again, we're anticipating guys getting to the Super Bowl, so that makes a difference. Where it's like, hey, I don't know, C.J. Stroud, why don't I just take a flyer because quarterbacks always win it, and if Houston wins the championship, 151 is a pretty good price on C.J. Stroud. If we're being honest, you see Jahmyr Gibbs at 15-1. Yes, Detroit has a great chance to get to the Super Bowl, but David Montgomery is coming back. No, I would never take Gibbs at that point, because they'll make sure that's a 50-50 backfield at that point, which allows me to slide it down. If we're not going quarterbacks with teams with legitimate chances to make the Super Bowl, Saquon Barkley, 21-1, Derrick Henry, 27-1. Those would be my eyes would go if you wanted that longer shot as opposed to just taking the quarterback. And understand this, favorites to win the Super Bowl, Kansas City, they get there and win it. It's going to be Patrick Mahomes. It's not going to be Kareem Hunt. It's not going to be Isaiah Pacheco. It's not going to be Travis Kelce. It will be Mahomes. That's why they're priced accordingly. But if I'm looking outside the box to say, boy, and sometimes it's just supposed to be the Super Bowl MVP, but we know how people vote. If Saquon goes 100 yards, 100 yards, 100 yards, then goes in the Super Bowl for $150, and Jalen Hurts goes for 275 and 3 touchdowns, I'm like, you know what? Saquon was really the MVP of this team. Let's give it to him in the Super Bowl. Same thing with Derrick Henry. Yes, Lamar Jackson might win the MVP in the regular season and have a decent run, but if Derrick Henry for the next 3 games over 100 yards and a big Super Bowl, that's a nice price at 27-1, because hear me out on this. Same thing with everybody else. If the Eagles make it and or the Ravens make it, those price points aren't going to be 20-1 and 27-1. Sure. They're going to be 2-1 and plus 175 at that point.
It's the debate we had last year. Would Christian McCaffrey actually be the Super Bowl MVP favorite in front of Brock Purdy because of what he meant to that offense, even more than a quarterback? But we're talking pressure here. Lamar Jackson under a ton to try to turn around the narrative of his lack of success in the playoffs. Could argue the same for Josh Allen. 4 consecutive AFC East divisional crowns, now make it 5, and never a berth to a Super Bowl. Only 1 AFC championship game appearance way back in 2020. Ousted from the postseason the last 3 years in the divisional round, 3 of the previous 4 by Kansas City. But both expected DRS to have the opportunity to face off in a divisional round matchup to potentially see the Chiefs again in that AFC championship game, because both Buffalo and Baltimore are largest favorites of this wild card weekend. The Bills laying 8.5 against the Broncos. The Ravens laying 9.5 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Buy or sell to you. The Broncos are more likely to win outright than the Steelers.
I'm going to sell that for one reason, because we know how long this rivalry goes back between the Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens, where even if you saw the last game, it was clear that the Ravens are probably the better team, even though the first game, the Steelers got the better of them. The Ravens are playing much better football down the stretch than the Pittsburgh Steelers, but these two teams really know each other. These two teams know how to get after it. And you're talking about Mike Tomlin as an underdog with his team hanging around. There's a legitimate chance that happens. I would be surprised if the Ravens completely take apart the Steelers for a 17-point win. I'm looking at this game in the second half being a one-possession type of game. Maybe the Ravens cover, maybe they don't. But flip it over to the other side. I do like the Broncos, but they are going on the road as underdogs with a rookie quarterback, which usually doesn't tend to help you all that much in the playoffs. And from a perspective of betting, Denver is very good at winning games they're supposed to win. Not so good at games they're not supposed to win, and they're not supposed to win this. So, might surprise some. I'll go Steelers.
We'll continue buy or sell, continue the debate next.
Jimmy Butler wants to leave because Jimmy Butler knows that Riles isn't going to pay him, and he wants to get paid. Simply put, if they would have given Jimmy Butler this contract extension in the summer when he asked, this wouldn't be happening. But Riles did it, and Riles wanted him to play. So now he's disgruntled because he wants out.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this. I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text. Put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, hey, I never got the text. And I'm like,
no.
Oh, yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. When he texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe, like, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Statement from Giants president John Mara. Joe Shane and Brian Daboll will continue in their respective roles with the organization. As disappointing as the results of the season have been, Steve Tisch and I remain confident in the process that Joe and Brian have implemented.
The Giants, an absolute train wreck, and I love it.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid. Just 3 games left in this historic college football season. Thursday, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame is definitely one of the top teams in the nation.
Clash with Penn State. Friday, Ohio State looks to slow down the Horns, with the Buckeyes favored to top Texas.
You know what I see? 2 similar plays. Jackpot. Cherry. I'm in for a big man.
Follow along for every play and every bet with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
We continue playing buy or sell to set the stage for the NFL postseason and very soon the NFL draft. But I do want to make one final point about the last topic we were discussing. Of our 6 wild card weekend games, we only have 2 that feature a point spread at 5 or higher. And in fact, both are north of a touchdown. The Ravens in the Saturday night cap of our doubleheader just 2 days from now, 9.5-point favorite against divisional foe and rival the Pittsburgh Steelers. It seems like a lot for a game between those 2 bitter foes where no love is lost from the AFC North, the Flock and the Steelers, and an 8.5-point spread in favor of the Bills. First game of 3 on Sunday against the Broncos. DRS, I would agree with you. I actually think the Steelers are more than likely to win outright in favor of the Broncos. I think the Bills are in command of that game. And again, as we discussed yesterday, I deem this season a wild success story for Sean Payton, Bo Nix, and the Broncos, and a ton of building blocks in place to have a lot of optimism in the offseason and beyond into 2025. But when you look at the Broncos' actual resume this year and what they have done as an underdog as of late, when the market has reset in those matchups against the teams they were not expected to beat, it has not been an overly pretty picture for Denver. A successful season, I think it comes to an end and potentially by double digits on Sunday afternoon. And on paper, I actually am not going to go to the prescribed notion of, oh, it's an AFC North game between the Steelers and the Ravens. You know, it's going to be decided by a single score, as 8 of the last 9 have been, 5 of those 8 by a field goal. I do really think the Ravens should win this game comfortably. But there is that thought of familiarity if the Steelers can be elite offensively, which we have not seen in the 4 consecutive defeats to end out this year, that Pittsburgh could stay in it. Again, I think the Steelers have a more likely chance to win outright than the Broncos. Do I think either win outright? No. Would I even take any of that money line sprinkle, even if you made it a 10-1 price on the Steelers? Still probably not. I think both Baltimore and Buffalo win rather comfortably to set up what would be an incredible divisional round game in Western New York between Josh Allen and his Bills and Lamar Jackson and his Ravens.
And the answer might be a little bit different if we were just asking the question, which team do you feel is more likely to cover? But we're not actually going in there and winning that football game. There are two different scenarios that has played out. And also, as we spend a lot of time, and rightfully so, one of these guys is a rookie in Bo Nix. He's not supposed to win. The other one's Russell Wilson, who's been to a Super Bowl and won one. But also, we talk about the pressure that starts to mount up in the playoffs on Lamar Jackson. And you know he's going to get heated up in that pocket without his best wide receiver from a really good pass rush from the Steelers. We've seen crazier things happen, and the game slows down in the playoffs. Hopefully we're in for some good football to watch, and maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers can steal one. But as Ben said, are we looking for either one of these underdogs really to win outright? No. Otherwise, we'd be pressing the lever down, saying, oh, I can't believe these spreads are so high. Forget about it. Let's just take the money line on both. We're not doing that. You're asking to pick the winner of this football game. It's hard to win on the road in the playoffs when, theoretically, you're not the better team. So it's a tough stance anyway.
Yeah, completely agree. And again, it re-emphasizes the idea of pressure because more than likely we are going to see Josh Allen face off against Lamar Jackson in the divisional round for a spot in the AFC Championship game. One quarterback will start to change his narrative. The other will have to continue with those storylines and the feedback in a negative way that we have seen plague their postseason careers to this point. Let's talk quarterbacks of the future. In the number 1 overall pick odds, which have changed a ton in the last week or so. Toward the end of the regular season in the NFL, at the end of the regular season in college football, it was Shedeur Sanders at a minus 200 price, Colorado's quarterback, of course, to be that first overall selection. Now it's Miami's QB by way of Wazoo and Incarnate Word. That would be Cam Ward as a minus 125 favorite to be the first overall pick. There could be a lot of reasons why. Of course, you see the Heisman winner, Travis Hunter, there as well at a 10-1 number. But more than likely, a quarterback goes first off the board, especially with the Titans, a quarterback-needy team holding on to that pick. Buy or sell? Donnie's guy, Miami's Cam Ward, will be the first overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft.
I'm going to buy it at this point right now because I do think, and you see the odds, it's not minus 500 to plus 650 at this point. You're looking neck and neck in a coin flip here. But where I give the slight edge to Cam Ward is watching both of these football players. They're good football players. They're both going to go in the first round. I expect them to have results once they get to the NFL. But Cam Ward just feels like he's leveled up just a little bit more than Shedeur. And some might say, well, that's not really fair. Did you see the growth and maturity of Shedeur over the past year or two? Yes, we've seen that. Did you also see the talent at Colorado not be so good a year ago and get a little bit better this year? Both of these guys had a lot of talent at wide receiver and running back, maybe even a little bit more on the side here for Cam Ward if you include that offensive line. But for me, if you want just a guy that's going to stand and deliver in the pocket and also make those tough throws but be able to escape the pocket, I just like Cam Ward a little bit more. And I'm not saying this is fair, but it is a question that you have to ask. What encircles which quarterback you're going to take? Yes, you get Cam Ward. He's a good football player. Yes, you get Shedeur Sanders. He's a good football player. But if you are an organization with a general manager and an ownership group that accepts Shedeur Sanders, who is a rock star right now, makes a ton of money in NIL, he is going to bring a lot of focus on your team, both good and bad. And also, what do you get from the father looking over his shoulder like, I don't like what's going on with my son. Maybe this should not be that place. So you do have to ask those questions on if there is baggage, and maybe it's unfair because I just told you they're two good quarterbacks. But does an organization side with maybe the quieter football player maybe off the field than the other one?
So, DRS, that's what I actually think has caused the change here. Not necessarily the egos or the allure of either quarterback, but just what Tennessee might be willing to deal with or what they prefer in quarterback skill set. I actually think it's pretty even in terms of talent, skill level, and how I think both will be in the NFL at the quarterback position. I think both have the chance to be successful? Is there a generational talent at least entering, like a Caleb Williams or a Heisman Trophy winner in Jaden Daniels or a C.J. Stroud or even Bryce Young, at least their perception entering an NFL draft? Not necessarily. BRS, neither of these two guys were actually the favorites to be the first overall pick at the beginning of this football year. It was Georgia's Carson Beck. We're not even sure he's going to be a day 1 or day 2 pick come the end of April at this point. Sanders had a shorter price before the season got started at plus 380, which was the second best number. Cam Ward, fifth best price at 14-1. But now the perception is, hey, we might have a 2-quarterback draft, at least in the opening round, for quarterbacks that we are going to see hear their name called early and often. Last year we saw 6 in the opening round, a modern NFL draft record, and not just 6 by the time we were done with 32, 6 by the time we were done with 12, Donnie. So the NFL was in love with quarterbacks, and there were a ton of teams last year that needed a future signal caller, as is the case this year, certainly at the top. The Titans, the Browns, the Giants need one as well. The Patriots don't, the Jags don't, and then the Raiders, drafting 6th overall, do need a quarterback of the future. We're just not sure outside of Cleveland if any of those teams will get a chance. But I do believe, Donnie, Tennessee, at least as reports state, like Cam Ward a little bit more. And I also believe it's intriguing because we know who Deion Sanders is. We know who Prime is. He has told us he is going to be heavily invested in trying to pick the destination that Shedeur Sanders goes. Shedeur was wearing Giants cleats to play in the Alamo Bowl against BYU when it seemed like the Giants controlled their own destiny to have that first overall pick, only for Shedeur not to play all that well in the Alamo Bowl and the Giants to squander that opportunity. All of that, more than skill set and talent, is why I think Cam Ward is the favorite right now.
Yeah, and also you are going to get smokescreen season where bettors and gamblers alike are going to get those little tidbits, and rightfully so. Push the lever. I'm going to make that bet, and these odds will change because theoretically, get ready for the next 2 to 3 weeks when they tell you that Travis Hunter is too light to play in the NFL, and they can't even believe they had him rated this high from college. It's coming because they want him to drop to another team.
One thing I'll buy more than anything, those odds will change again in Orange Bowl preview next.
Jimmy Butler wants to leave because Jimmy Butler knows that Riles isn't going to pay him, and he wants to get paid. Simply put, if they would have given Jimmy Butler this contract extension in the summer when he asked, this wouldn't be happening. But Riles did it, and Riles wanted him to play. So now he's disgruntled because he wants out.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. Just 3 games left in this historic college football season. Thursday, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame is definitely one of the top teams in the nation.
Clash with Penn State. Friday, Ohio State looks to slow down the Horns, with the Buckeyes favored to top Texas.
You know what I see? 2 similar plays. Jackpot. Cherry. I'm nimble for a big man.
Follow along for every play and every bet with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
It is game day once more in the college football playoff. For the first time ever in the 12-team era, the semifinals begin tonight. In Miami, it's the Orange Bowl between two programs you know very well in college football, the 6th-seed Penn State and the 7th-seed Notre Dame. DRS, the story entering this matchup tonight in South Florida is how close and competitive it is expected to be by the odds. We have seen market movement, but basically the Irish opened as a slight favorite. They got up to a 2.5-point favorite earlier this week. Now, as we get ready for this game on this Thursday game day, there are just 20 cents of difference on those money line prices to win outright and earn a spot in 2 Mondays from now, national championship game in Atlanta. The lowest total we have seen in the college football playoff is 45.5, both for the Irish's game in the Sugar Bowl against Georgia and tonight against the Nittany Lions and James Franklin. Here we are, DRS, on this Thursday. It is game day once more in the CFP semis at the Orange Bowl. Do you still feel the same way about this game as you did before?
I do. I'm actually feeling a little bit better because if it is Jeremiah Love that left last week's game after re-aggravating a knee injury and isn't 100%, and sometimes you take a look at head coaches and what they tell you. Now, you take a look at James Franklin with Abdul Carter. We'll get to that in just a moment. But also with Freeman going, hey, look, nobody's 100% at this time of the year. That lets me know that Jeremiah Love truly isn't anywhere close to 100%. And if you are on the FanDuel Sportsbook and saying, okay, who's the best running back on Notre Dame? It's by far Jeremiah Love. Look at his price, Ben. 35.5. Look at Jadarian Price, 48.5. That's going to tell you the picture here because Notre Dame does have a very good football team and a staunch defense and has won some big football games. I get that here. But I just look at both offenses and try to break it down. I just see Notre Dame having a slightly tougher time moving the football, especially now that we think Love is going to be hindered in any way. Keep in mind, Love being seen at practice with a bulky knee brace on, which maybe they drop it down to a compression sleeve, whatever, but they're clear. Something is wrong with that knee. And for one of the most electric football players in college football to not be at 100% against a good defense when he's maybe the focal points of your offense, that's giving me a little bit of trepidation. So nothing has changed this week to bring me back to Notre Dame. But as you see, minus 120, plus 100 on the money line. This is a great football game against two evenly matched teams where if you're just looking for a little bit of the excess, which might not be there out of Notre Dame's Jeremiah Love.
Expected to be close and expected to be a low-scoring affair. A defensive struggle where we have seen two elite defenses stand on their heads throughout both of their first two college football playoff games. Penn State victorious in both against SMU and Boise State to get to this point. Both of those games, the Nittany Lions as a favorite. Penn State covering in both, under in both. Notre Dame a slight favorite at least in both of their opening two matchups, covering in both, under in both. The key matchup to me, DRS, is not actually Notre Dame's rushing attack against Penn State's elite defense. It's the other side of the equation. A two-headed monster in the backfield for the Nittany Lions and Nick Singleton and Katron Allen against the Notre Dame defense that throughout the regular season did allow some chunk plays on the ground and some yardage to be accumulated in terms of their opponent's rush game. But throughout the college football playoff has been a stone wall. What does that look like tonight? We'll talk more about the props on the other side of the break. But just from the allure of the Orange Bowl here in the college football playoff semifinal, Notre Dame has not won a national championship since 1988. Penn State 2 years prior to that, 1986. Both hoping for a victory tonight to get a shot in a national championship game again. The Irish did play in the 2012 BCS national championship game. Did not work out all that well against Alabama. So there are those thoughts for how this game is going to play out. DRS, when you see that total at 45 and a hook, again, we expect offense to be hard to come by tonight in South Florida. You favor Penn State. What does it mean for that over-under of 45 and a hook?
Yeah, it's really no correlation in this, right, Ben? It's like, hey, if the game goes over, it's clearly a Penn State game. If the game stays under, it's Notre Dame. I don't think that's the case because styles do make fights at this point. If you are James Franklin coming in and saying, you know what, I think our defense might have a little bit of an upper hand if Love is banged up for Notre Dame, then why on the opposite side are you throwing the football all over the place when you know, as Ben just pointed out, Singleton and Allen are phenomenal as a 1-2 punch, just like you take a look at Ohio State and handicap them. So if they're going to say, okay, we understand we might be the better football team if we don't make mistakes, we're really going to run the rock. And on both sides, you take a look at Riley Leonard could really get after it. I loved in the last game they played where it was like, okay, 11.5, I believe was his carries number, or 9.5 in that range. He easily went over that. He's going to have to do that again. So if we're not objectifying the passing game, saying that's going to be the key component for either side, you got to be looking at under. Because yes, you are going to get some big plays in the running game, 25, 30 yards. We're not talking about you playing an FCS team where you're breaking 85 to 95-yard touchdown runs. That's not happening here. And if you do get a long drive, Ben, maybe it is 13 or 14 plays because you're not picking up chunk plays, staying ahead of the sticks, converting 3rd and 2s and 3rd and 3s. That clock is going to bleed. So for me, there's no correlation in this game. I just feel like the gameplay on either side lends itself to an under.
Yeah, listen, I would agree with you as well, at least on paper, DRS. And not just because I don't think we're going to see a 7-3 game, just the nature of what Donnie alluded to there. If they are going to focus on the ground attacks on both sides, that's just going to eat up more of the clock, and why we see that total at 45 and a hook. I would say this, though. Prior to the college football playoff, Penn State went over in its Final Four, including that Big Ten title game, a shootout against Oregon, 45-37. Prior to the CFP, Notre Dame had played 10 games against non-MAC foes this year, averaged better than 43 points per game, and Notre Dame still an elite scoring offense this year as well, over in 7 of 10, but of course both have gone under in each of their 2 games so far in the college football playoff. Notre Dame has been perfect against non-MAC foes this year, 12-0, 11-0-1 against the spread. Penn State has been booked as a favorite in each of its first 2 games in the college football playoff. The Nittany Lions as a favorite since 2022, 34-1, 25-9-1 against the spread. But as an underdog in the last 3 years, that's where things get precarious for Penn State. Winless, 0-6 straight up, and only 1-5 against the number. But it's about winning outright tonight when you see those moneyline prices in the props. Next.
Jimmy Butler wants to leave because Jimmy Butler knows that Riles isn't going to pay him, and he wants to get paid. Simply put, if they would have given Jimmy Butler this contract extension in the summer when he asked, this wouldn't be happening. But Riles did it, and Riles wanted him to play. So now he's disgruntled because he wants out.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. Just 3 games left in this historic college football season. Thursday, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame is definitely one of the top teams in the nation.
Clash with Penn State. Friday, Ohio State looks to slow down the Horns, with the Buckeyes favored to top Texas.
You know what I see? Two similar plays. Jackpot. Cherry. I'm nimble for a big man.
Follow along for every play and every bet with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
The props for tonight's college football playoff semifinal matchup at the Orange Bowl in Miami between Notre Dame and Penn State. It is one of my favorite things because I do believe there are better edges in the prop market in college football, even in the CFP, than you will see around the NFL. And it's the individuals that will impact the outcome to earn a spot in a national championship game tonight between Penn State and Notre Dame. Let's start with the Irish DRS, and you'll see Riley Leonard's passing yards probably be like, wait, is this Army-Navy? No, it's just how Notre Dame constructs their offense. But it's not just Riley Leonard's right arm, it's his two legs. You mentioned the difference between Jeremiah Love, who re-aggravated a knee injury in the quarterfinal game against Georgia that had really hindered him down the tail end of the regular season for the Irish. He has the lower of the props, even behind Jadarian Price, who actually has a lower prop than that of Riley Leonard. 14 carries, 80 yards for Leonard in the Sugar Bowl against Georgia. And basically, DRS, to ice away that game in the fourth quarter, whenever Mike Denbrock and the Irish needed a big play, needed a first down to move the sticks and keep winding time off the clock, they called the number of Big 13, the quarterback for Notre Dame.
Yeah, and that's the way you look at it because he is the focal point of that offense if he's running and running well. Because I even remember them bringing up articles or what they were saying for the regular season. Hey, look, we know the kid's a dynamic runner, but you can't run 15 or 20 times a game. Not because you can't do it, in the length of the game and put up 150 yards. Like, you won't make it to the end of the season. We need to save you. So the reason why I liked it last week was, okay, now we're in the college football playoff. If you want to get extra runs, that's worth it because technically there is no tomorrow if we lose the football game. So when you look at Riley Leonard at 49.5, he should easily achieve that. But as always in college football, the sack numbers take away from your rush numbers. Like, how many times do you watch like a Jalen Miller? Like, wait a second. I think I run for minus 15 yards in a game when I just saw him run 2 times for 25 yards. You take 5 or 6 sacks that lost at 15 and 20 yards, that goes against your rushing number, which is why in college sometimes I lean more to the rushing attempts than the actual rushing yards that they have. But I do think if this team is going to win, there is a correlation. If Riley Leonard rushes for 22 yards in this game, they better have a hell of a passing game to try to win. So there is something to be said about he better do that. And also, he's going to have to pick up maybe a bigger chunk because of the electric plays for Jeremiah Love just might not be there. Jadarian Price is a very good running back, and quite frankly, if he never got injured at Notre Dame, who knows what he'd be looking forward to this year. But Love has taken that electricity over, and rightfully so. He'll get more carries. But if you are looking for a correlation in winning football games and Notre Dame, it's probably directly on the legs of Riley Leonard.
Yeah, no doubt about it, DRS. He had a funny quote before that quarterfinal matchup against UGA in the offensive coaching staff at Notre Dame, his head coach, Marcus Freeman, asking him to slide, as they did early in the year. And he said at this point, it's really a lost cause. Jeremiah Love is supposed to be good to go. That was the coach speak out of Marcus Freeman. How much pressure will Penn State be able to provide on Notre Dame's Riley Leonard tonight, as Abdul Carter is also supposed to be good to go? That's what James Franklin said in the lead up to tonight's Orange Bowl. On the other side, again, a passing yards prop that makes you question what kind of football game are we going to see. Drew Aller, 183 and a hook. A couple of dynamite touchdown tosses in that Fiesta Bowl quarterfinal matchup against Boise State, mainly to his outstanding tight end in Tyler Warren. But Drew Aller hasn't been tasked with doing much really the entirety of his career in State College or throughout the college football playoff. 171 yards against the Broncos, only 25 attempts, just 127 yards against the Mustangs of SMU, just 22 attempts for Drew Aller. If Penn State is going to earn a spot in a national championship tonight, DRS, what do the Nittany Lions need out of Drew Aller?
They need him to make the plays. It's almost like, J.J. McCarthy cloned here at this point. Hey, we know you got talent. And, boy, if you were in a system like down at SMU or Miami, you'd put up numbers, but you're not. You're in a system here that's hand the football off. And if we need you to make big-time throws, you got to be able to make them. And he has shown the distance to do that. You're looking at a quarterback that some are saying if he did turn pro this year would be a top 15 pick, and he's priced at 183 in a college football semifinal game. Make it make some sense. And even to throw 2 touchdowns is heavily juiced in your favor here of getting plus money. But if we are saying side by side, which quarterback do you trust throwing the football more? It is Drew Aller. I think he has a little bit more weapons and also is buoyed by a really good run game and maybe the best Swiss Army knife at tight end. So my expectations for Drew Aller are through the air tonight, and I do think he will succeed. But does he even need Ben to throw for 185 plus to win this game with what we're expecting out of Notre Dame's offense if Love isn't 100% tonight?
We'll talk more about Penn State's backfield on the other side of the break when hour 3 is set to begin. But if you think Penn State keeps this game close or wins outright, you need Singleton and Allen to be great as they have been. Hour 3 on the horizon.